In this episode, we're going to go through building some of the skills you can use to learn Skids-in Piro Tictocs. Thanks to Spawn on HeliFreak for suggesting this one. With Skids-in, you'll possibly be missing some of the more basic orientations, so we'll start from a little bit further back than we did in the previous episode. You want to at least be able to do the 4 points of Skids-in Tictocs. Now, I haven't found a smart way to learn Skids-in Tictocs. It seems pretty much like brute force repetition and just getting on with it. You can make it a little more interesting by making shapes. So here we're going to do a nose down vertical square. These really help, as you're learning to control the model at a slightly different perspective, which means you'll have better control as it moves around. And then we'll bring it back to center and stop it there. Then we're going to do a tail down vertical circuit. It's slightly more difficult as you have lateral movement as well as vertical movement to make the right shape. So it's super hard, but it will increase the amount of control that you have massively compared to just doing them on the spot. And then we'll finish with managing the distance. So here I'm going to do aileron Tictocs and I'm going to push the model away a bit. I'm going to stop and then I'm going to bring it back. There is a more in-depth episode on controlling your Tictocs that you might find interesting, so I've put a link to that in the description. So now we move on to half Piro flips. These should be clean and controlled with a nice solid hover at the end with very little movement. You'll probably find the Piro flip away is easy as it's the most common, but coming back should at least prove a challenge. If you don't make any headway with these, a Piro Trainer is perfect for figuring out stick movements, but we go into that a bit later. You should try them with the rudder both ways. Learning the opposite direction is always difficult, but there are advantages. One of them is that you often figure out better ways of learning, such as setting marks or cues. Often this will lead you to going back to your favorite side and clearing up those bad habits that you've gained over time. Half Piro rainbows are an amazing exercise that will teach you fine control on the sticks as well as proper use of the collective. The start and end point should be in the same place and it should create a decent sized arc. If you're on the fast track to learning Piro Tictocs, you don't have to practice both rudder directions. However, if you get stuck later on or develop habits that are hard to break, it's useful to return to trying them with both rudder directions to identify differences or better ways of learning them. Hesitation half Piro rainbows take that a little bit further in that you have to back off the controls halfway through and then reapply them to continue the arc. It creates a target at the top that you have to try and hit with the boom horizontal. This forces you to space them evenly, so you're not doing the whole pirouette in the first half and then nothing in the second, and it also stops you from simply figuring out the stick positions and doing a stir, because now you have to fly the model. The Piro Trainer isn't really required, but if you're still struggling with Piro flips, it can be incredibly useful for pinpointing where you're going wrong. It allows you to do the maneuver even slower than the rainbows, and you can stop in any position. This is the hesitation version, where we're stopping at boom horizontal and main shaft away. The primary thing you need to be looking for is that the main shaft is going over straight. You shouldn't veer to the left or right, it should stay between pointing at yourself and being vertical. We'll change the rudder direction here just to check that we're doing that the right way too. Once again, learning both ways will teach you how to teach yourself, as you will have different struggles for each direction and you can use that to fix bad habits. Until you've tried these, you've got no idea how good they can be for learning fine control. Very difficult, within a short period you should get a feel for them. We'll do the non-paused version as well to the left and the right. We're looking to keep the main shaft straight and to go through the boom horizontal knife edge target at the top. If you're using accuracy, they don't have a Piro Trainer and suggest reducing simulation speed. I'd be interested to know how you get on with that. Please let me know in the comments below. Hesitation Piro Tictocs mean you're almost there. The idea is that you get to stabilize the model at the end of each Tictoc and start with a clean movement on the return. The problem with going straight to Piro Tictocs is if your timing or cues are off and you compensate by doing some weird cyclic things, and then before you know it you have a bad habit. This way you can make the pauses shorter and shorter until they're practically Piro Tictocs anyway. The Skids-in Piro Tictocs, you want to start slow and then speed them up. Once they get too fast or you lose your way, you can drop back to the hesitation version, regain control, and then bring the model back to where it should be. From there you can speed them up as you feel comfortable. It's interesting to see the cyclic hangs around the top right quadrant. More on that in a bit. If you're working on the hard stuff, you might as well do the other way as well. Start slow and speed it up again. If it feels uncomfortable or starts to wander, drop to hesitations, regain control, and then bring it back. Then you can start speeding it up again. With right rudder, I definitely seem to bias the cyclic to the bottom. I haven't figured out why I do it or if it's incorrect. If you have any thoughts on the cyclic position, I'd love to hear it. These are really difficult and will take time and effort to get right, so don't rush them and revisit each of the steps when you feel stuck. If you make progress on these, I'd love to see a video. Until next time.